Hey everyone, and welcome back to Timeless. Look at this graph. So lately, there's been a huge trend in playing Balemurk decks on ladder. Midrange is coming back in Timeless, and a lot of guys in Discord have been putting a lot of diligent work into figuring out these midrange deck lists, and literally putting midrange back on the map of the format. Previously, midrange was thought of as a dead archetype in Timeless. It's very difficult to make the midrange decks work in the format. In the past, really only decks that abuse the One Ring were able to thrive in any sort of a midrange sense, but here we are. We have a deck that's got 3, 4, and 5 drops in it, and we are thriving with it, as you could see. So this whole Balemurk trend started on Discord about a month ago, just to tell a bit of a story, because I know people love the stories. Started about a month ago, where I was mulling over the Timeless format and trying to think of ways to innovate, and trying to think of ways to rebuild decks that we have. So I identified a lot of cards, which you're going to see in this initial list, that are very strong in the format that I wanted to build a new deck around. And that was Guide of Souls, Ocelot Pride, Juggernaut Peddler. Philia I identified as really strong but underplayed. Recruiter the Guard I identified could be really strong, especially alongside free cards like the Pitch Elementals, but underplayed. And I threw all those things together in a deck list, got testing, and it posted some pretty good initial results. And that's when everybody else chipped in and we all built this deck collaboratively. People ask me, how do you build decks? Well, having that initial idea is often very difficult, but how you build a good deck is through hard work with a lot of people. It takes a village, literally, and one person often can't do it. And a bunch of different people got their hands on this and gave their ideas, their opinions, their refinements, because it is very, very difficult to build a new deck from the ground up. So that original Yorion deck got refined in and out of being a Yorion deck a couple of times, and people had several different ideas, and this was all less than a month ago. This all happened in the last month. So it took a while for us to hammer out what is the best deck list, and I believe there are 2 deck lists that have settled as the best. The first is the Birthing Ritual version, which is not this. I'm going to put it on screen, but it's not what we're playing today. Dem played that to rank 3 finish last season and made a really nice Reddit post about it. If you want to read that, get the sideboard guide, play that version. And then there is this version that we are looking at right here, which is my preferred version. I think this is a little bit better in my opinion, but they're very close. They're both very good, but they're 2 quite different builds at this point of the deck. They're not similar to each other at all, other than sharing like the Balemurk Dollmaker core. So this build really thrives by being degenerate. It thrives by going fast. It thrives by cheating on mana and putting things out before they should be, whereas that other Birthing Ritual version can thrive by going long, mostly. In this deck, we are playing Dark Ritual, and we're also playing Dollmaker as a way to get ahead on mana. The most busted interaction, that was the first one that was identified as really good, was flickering a Overlord of the Balemurk when you pay 2 mana for it with either a Philia or a Dollmaker. I had 0 Dollmakers in my original version because that card wasn't even on my radar. I forgot it existed. And people pointed it out. But paying 2 mana for this, getting a card, so it's just like a 2 mana draw spell, like Malevolent Rumble, that fills your graveyard, and then for free, pretty much, turning it into a creature, right? Because these are 2/2s with abilities on them. They're worth 2 mana in their own right. Getting 7 mana cards worth for 4 mana and drawing 2 cards is insanely, insanely good. And that has been the core of the deck this whole time. It cheats on mana, it cheats on board presence. You're going to have not just 7 mana worth of cards, but 7 power worth of cards. You are often going to pick up free cards with your Balemurk, right? The Balemurk can mill into a Grief or a Solitude, allowing you to instantly throw down some more free interaction onto the board, clearing the way for your Balemurk to keep attacking and keep getting you card advantage. It's pretty crazy. This deck also plays the Sorin Alenda combo. Now, the other version of the deck opts for green cards, value cards like Renegade Rallier and Birthing Ritual instead in these slots. This version is playing Sorin. The Sorin Alenda combo is very strong and timeless. It demands either an instant counterspell or a Swords to Plowshares on the spot, otherwise Alenda will get ahead. And when you're playing a Dark Ritual deck, you could do this on turn 1. You're playing a Deathrite Shaman deck, you could do this on turn 2. When Saint Alenda hits the battlefield ahead of schedule, even if it's on turn 3 or turn 4, she very often takes over the game. Because even if she gets hit by a Swords to Plowshares or a removal spell on the spot, you still get one of these cards out of her spellbook. So you're going to gain 4 life and be able to remove a permanent's abilities, right? Or gain 4 life and make a little creature. Gain 4 life, blow up Omniscience. So this is really strong whenever it hits the board, and no matter what, we are doing something ahead of schedule. Another thing we can do ahead of schedule is reanimate onto one of our scam elementals. We can open with a Grief Scam. We could open with on turn 1 Dark Ritual into cast Balemurk, mill 4 cards, mill something like, I don't know, a Saint Elenda or maybe a Grief or another Balemurk, and then just reanimate them on the spot, which is very, very strong. This deck has a lot of ways to get ahead on mana, and there aren't too many flex slots left after we do all that degeneracy. The ones that are left are this Deathbright Shaman slot, these Juggernaut Peddlers, and Demonic Tutor. Really only 6 deck slots. Everything else here is part of the plan. And before I had Orcish Bowmasters in this deck slot for the longest time, and I took it out. That's the only change I made recently while I was climbing. Just because Bowmasters really felt like the worst card in the deck over and over again, which is insane to say because Bowmasters is a format-defining card. It is an incredibly strong card. And don't take this as me saying that Bowmasters is always going to be a bad card and that it is bad in the meta right now. It's fine. It's just that this deck is doing other things. The same reason that Black White Belcher isn't playing Bowmasters. We're going faster than Bowmaster, oftentimes. Bowmasters doesn't really fit into the game plan. I'd rather have another source of mana acceleration or another Juggernaut Peddler for disruption. And of course we have 1 DT because when you're playing a Dark Ritual deck, you want to be able to tutor for your combo pieces. So Sorin plus Elenda, sometimes I'll just tutor for a Dollmaker to flicker my Balemurk that I have in play. One last little thing is we're playing 5 MDFCs in the lands column here, if you didn't notice. It might seem like a lot, but it's actually really good with Balemurk. Because what happens is Balemurk can return any creature from your graveyard, and both these MDFCs are creatures on the front side. So it is a good way for Balemurk to grab a land drop for you. This deck is like very fast and very degenerate, so you do not mind paying 3 life for this as a land drop if you need it. And also, Witch Enchanter is a very strong card in the meta, just because it is out to the card Show and Tell, right? Opponent just casts Show and Tell with no other interaction. They put Omniscience into play, you put Witch Enchanter into play. Witch Enchanter kills the Omniscience on the spot. Of course, Show and Tell players now know how to tech their decks to beat that, right? They will tutor a Born Upon a Wind and win at instant speed. Like, I'm aware of that. But you are making them have it. And also, if your deck is playing discard and you've previously griefed your opponent and hit them with a Juggernaut Peddler and they're low on resources, then they might not necessarily have that. Saint Elenda works the same way as Witch Enchanter, so we actually have 7 things that we can put into play off of a Show and Tell and blow up an Omniscience if you get Invoke the Divine off of Saint Elenda here. And I've gotten some concessions from that one before. That's really, really funny. Going over the sideboard really quick. Oh, mana. I forgot to go over mana. Mana's straightforward. We have 1 Overgrown Tomb for the Deathbright Shaman. Other than that, it's just a black-white mana base with the MDFCs. Sideboard, I'm going to go over each card really quick and what it's for, just in case you don't know. Deafening Silence is for spell-based combo, mostly Show and Tell. If you're playing against Show and Tell, you should keep this card in your hand as opposed to spending mana on it, unless you have nothing else to do. The reason you want to do that is because the Show and Tell player will Abrupt Decay this before casting Show and Tell if you play it and put it on the board and telegraph it. Whereas if they just cast Show and Tell with this in your hand, they can't Abrupt Decay it immediately or use any removal spell on it immediately because they've already cast a spell that turn, right? Archon of Emeria is a very similar effect, though it has a bit more of a generic hate bear tax on the lands on it. It's a very strong card. I like it a lot. It's a card that you can reanimate. It's a card that you can grab with Balemurk. So it's more easy to find in this deck, but it is 3 mana as opposed to 1. Right? This attacks and blocks. I'm not sure which one is really better, right? Because this is a enchantment, it doesn't die to creature removal, and it's only 1 mana. But this is a creature, though it's 3 mana and dies to all the 1 mana creature removal spells, right? So that's why I have the 3-2 split. I'm not quite sure which is better. But 5 of this effect feels very good. Disruptor Flute is for other combo decks. You could play it against pretty much any combo deck and just name their combo card and make it cost 3 more to play, of course. But it is best against like a Necropotence deck or a Charbelcher deck, right? Where you can wait for them to cast the spell and then do the gotcha, where their Necropotence won't work and they're Necro locked. We have Swords to Plowshares for the creature decks. Keep in mind we got a lot of discard here, right? We're a Grief Juggernaut Peddler deck. So all that stuff is going to come out against energy. We're going to bring in Swords to Plowshares, and we're even going to bring in Wrath of the Skies. We're bringing in an energy card to beat energy. So just be a little bit careful when you're playing against energy and you have this card brought in. Make sure you don't overcommit to the board, because sometimes you want to wipe the board on turn 3 or turn 4 with this Wrath of the Skies. Wrath of the Skies as opposed to another board wipe is very important in my opinion, because Wrath of the Skies hits artifacts and enchantments as well, so it blows up the Goblin Bombardment and all those pesky little artifacts that energy loves to play, and it deals with it nice and cleanly. Skyclave Apparition is also another great 2-for-1 against energy. It will remove one of their creatures while giving you a body. I guess it's technically a 1-for-0, not a 2-for-1, but you can have the nerd argument in the comments. I really don't care. Another Juggernaut Peddler just to round out the discard suite. I'd probably play the 4th Juggernaut Peddler as well on the sideboard if we had slots, but like you only get 15 slots here, boys. And then lastly, Ghost Vacuum, just one piece of Graveyard Hate to round out the deck. That's about it. I think we're going to go ahead and get into the gameplay. We'll play 3 games, win or lose, record them no matter what. Hopefully I win all of them. I like looking good. I like to pretend that I'm smart. All right, game 1 with Balemurk. We're going to be on the play here. So, this hand doesn't work even though it has Sorin Alenda. Unfortunately, we're just too shy on mana sources. So with this deck, you don't need to mulligan too aggressively as a general rule. But if you have like a really mid 7, like it's just a pile of random creatures, kind of like this. If this was my 7, I would definitely mulligan it, trying to look for 2 cards that worked well together. You know, like a Dollmaker and a Balemurk, or a Sorin and a Alenda. But our Sorin Alenda hand wasn't really keepable. So we're going to go ahead and keep this. Then we can question what else do we exactly need. Let's go ahead. We're going to want to do Deathrite Shaman turn 1. Really sucks we don't have fetches too. I think we have to put Backstreet back here, right? Henry Backstreet goes back. We just keep these 2 basics, and then we play Deathrite Shaman turn 1, Ophelia on turn 2. And see how that goes. Really mediocre opening hand, but I don't think it's worth going to 5 to try and fish for a Sorin Alenda with this hand, or with this deck. I think that this deck has a lot of powerful top decks. It's got a lot of mid-range power. So I don't think you need to mulligan too deep if you have a mediocre hand, though I do like to send back mediocre 7s. Of course, we're like rewarded by drawing a Balemurk. So this hand went from like so mid to the point where I'm kind of complaining about it to amazing, because we're going to mill with Balemurk, right? And if we mill both a land and a creature, we get a free reanimate here. So let's send it. And my opponent's tapped out. It's Christmas morning. All right, Juggernaut Peddler, you're staying, because I actually want you in play this turn. Because I want to see what my opponent is doing. I don't know what deck they're playing. I don't know if they're going to disrupt me. I don't know if I need to disrupt them. Let's take a look. My opponent is playing the same kind of BS that I'm playing. All right, you love to see it. All right, questions on what we want to take, right? This is interesting. We could take their Peddler back, which means we get the guaranteed Dollmaker, Flicker, Balemurk, which I think might be the best course of action here. Or we could just take Birthing Ritual, which is their real value engine. Bowmaster doesn't scare me. We don't draw cards. It doesn't kill anything. Of course, you could also just take like a Balemurk, but there's so much redundancy in this hand. I think I'm going to take Juggernaut Peddler. We went first this game. I think we're going to have an advantage. We can keep turning our stuff sideways. So let's just try to keep them off of interacting with us and make sure that we can do our game plan. All right, our opponent has decided to just go fishing with Balemurk, which is fine. We can grab, Solitude here. Yeah, Solitude would be a clean way for them to answer the Balemurk once I flicker it. I think I still am going to flicker it because it is card advantage. Let's go ahead and start by attacking with the Peddler here. And then what we're going to do is we're going to flicker our Balemurk. We could also flicker Peddler, but then what happens is that they can just evoke Solitude targeting it. We still get the card out of their hand, namely a Solitude, which is a very good card. Ooh, Grief. That's an interesting one. It's a good one for next turn, because we're going to have 4 mana. And what we can do on their turn is flicker out the Ophelia, which means we can just start like flickering either our Grief or our Juggernaut Peddler. I'm expecting to get Solituded. They don't have to do it right away, they can do it later. Though Solitude would cost a Renegade Rallier. A Renegade Rallier that they would be very happy to play off of this fetch land, right? So now they got Revolts. Revolts can go ahead and buy back a Birthing Ritual. That was actually a really good Balemurk hit for them because they milled this critical piece that they can get back with Rallier. If I'm them, that's probably the line I'm taking because they're going to get back into this game through Birthing Ritual being very, very good. But it is sus that they have to play their white card and not be able to use their Solitude here. So I'm going to let them do their thing before we put Ophelia out. Yep, there goes a Renegade Rallier. can get anything out of their deck with 4 or less. They're going to grab a Dollmaker. Dollmaker is going to flicker the Balemurk. That seems good to me. So Ophelia actually has a new rule. We're going to get rid of the token Balemurk because it's a token. If we exile it, it won't come back. Oh, they can pick up a Grief here. That's not great. Or even the Rallier again. Okay, another Rallier. What's unfortunate for us is now they're going to have Solitude up. Oh, this game got very interesting very quickly. Let's us go ahead and play out our Ophelia. My opponent does have free Solitude. They can use it at any moment. I'm curious when they use it. I'm going to play my Ophelia here. I think before I played Ophelia, the correct Solitude target was Balemurk, but now that I have my Ophelia, they might want to prevent me from attacking with it. DT. Oh, and let's actually think, what can we use this DT for? I don't think anything too amazingly useful. I think we go to combat first, and then perhaps we can DT after combat, but really I think I'm just going to grief them for 4 mana. We're going to attack with both of these. Juggernaut Peddler as well, actually. We're going to keep the Dollmaker back, because Dollmaker does have that cool activated ability. Also, we'll see if they Solitude here. If they Solitude here, it changes the arithmetic just a little bit. They go for the Balemurk. Okay. Balemurk is cooked. So we don't have to worry about our Dollmaker ability anymore, which is pretty cool. So we can just attack with it freely. We're going to flicker that out of the way. Goodbye. And then they're going to block Ophelia so I don't get repeated value. Because I was going to be able to pick up and put down my grief with Ophelia, which is very strong. I think I grief them here. And then we could DT for something depending on what happens next turn. So we can like just take the creature so they don't get to Birthing Ritual it, though. Just take the creature doesn't quite work when they have a Juggernaut that they can sacrifice to Birthing Ritual. The good old consequences of my actions coming through. I think we take the Balemurk because this is just such a crazy strong mid-range card. They play it for 2 mana, they can instantly buy back a Rallier or a Scam Elemental or a Dollmaker, right? So we definitely take that. And now my opponent is going to have like a Bowmasters and a Ritual in play, or a Juggernaut and a Ritual in play, which definitely gives them lots of outs to get back into the game. Game is not over, even though we're ahead right now. They're going to get 2 Birthing Ritual triggers here, and they could go pretty crazy. Let's see what those triggers look like. Alright, trigger 1 gets Boggart. You know, we're a little sad to lose the Graveyard, but the Graveyard wasn't looking too juicy. Reanimate's no longer a great draw for us. We can't just reanimate our own Balemurk anymore, but we could just reanimate their Balemurk, right? Yeah, I think we're fine. Reanimate is still a good draw. And then they're going to sacrifice Boggart and go get something else. Looks like they have a good target. Oh, and they get to, wow, they get to grief my DT. That's so good for them. Alright, goodbye DT. Ooh, hello. My own Boggart Trawler. Alright, I'll take it, right? Let's go ahead and attack for lethal. They actually do have to block something here. We'll see what they block. What's unfortunate is they are going to get another turn cycle no matter what, and they are going to be able to play their Juggernaut and then Birthing Ritual looking for a 5-drop like Solitude. That's a little troublesome. What's also pretty interesting here is I could deal 2 more damage to them, right? So if they take 5 here, then I could have just killed them with the Deathrite. Since they didn't, I think the best course of action is for me to Boggart Trawler them. Though not Boggart Trawlering them and just doing double Deathrite activation would kill them. Would I rather do double Deathrite activation? Are there enough instants and sorceries in the graveyards for double activation? There's only 1, right? Just double checking. Yes, there's only 1 instant or sorcery, and it's mine right here at the DT. So I can't double Deathrite them. I'm going to Boggart Trawler. Get rid of their graveyard, which is a big resource. I am very concerned about them playing Juggernaut Peddler and very specifically Birthing Ritual into Solitude. Birthing Ritual into Solitude on my grief would be bad. They do not play it. They instead play a Deathrite Shaman and a Dollmaker. Okay. That's fine. Just getting a large number of bodies into play is good. If I were them, I would have flickered the birthing ritual to make it a token. There's very few reasons not to do that, and you could use this text here to give it indestructible. Though I don't think I really have a way to blow it up in my deck, right? We're talking about very marginal decisions here. Not that it truly matters, yeah. And then Dollmaker can flicker the Rallier. Not that that would do anything, because the graveyard's empty. We can flicker the Ritual instead. You can do anything, it doesn't really matter. And they get one more hit here. And then that one more hit's going to be a Skyclave, which is pretty big for them. And they will take my Menace creature. Okay. There is Saint Alenda herself. I think it is correct of us to just keep turning the boys sideways, because we're just very close to a win. Opponent really does have to block. If they block with the Skyclave, we do get something back. If we kill some of their creatures, it means they have less targets for Birthing Ritual, which means their next turn is going to be less good. But this is showing why the Birthing Ritual version of the deck is very, very strong. Alright, good news. My opponent gave up their creatures, so Birthing Ritual is going to be a little weaker for them. We also have a 4/4 in play. Of course, they can play Juggernaut Peddler and then Ritual it and turn it into any card in their deck. Also, what's tough now is that we now have dueling Deathrite Shamans. My opponent's Deathrite is untapped. It has no Summoning Sickness. Maybe I should have exiled Demonic Tutor. Oh, they're going for life gain. I'm going to fight them on that. Oh, I don't have green. Classic. If I had green, I would fight them on that. Unfortunately, I don't get the chance. Alright, we go to end step. I'm just hoping for no Solitudes here. And if, they do hit Solitude, we could just be a luck sack and draw Sorin. Because, I'm very lucky over here. I only win games because I'm lucky, and you're unlucky, right? That's the cause of the rank disparity. No, I shouldn't be mean. Just every so often someone blows in from Stupid Town who blames all of their failures on the shuffler. Yeah, that's one of the 5 drops I was concerned about. Oh, and you can grab a Solitude. Hehehe. Look at that. Whee! I think we might be cooked. I think they turned the corner on us. Drawing a Sorin would uncook us, probably. Alright, and there goes Deathrite. I wonder what they're getting. Bowmaster? Yeah, that's a blocker. Alright, so there's only one instant or sorcery. I'll exile it. Now that we're done here. Opponent goes to 3. Grief. I mean, I will take that Solitude out of their hand. Unfortunately, I don't have green mana still, so I can't, exile things from their graveyard with Deathrite. I would love to be able to do that. I cannot. I think we're in a losing position, if I'm going to be entirely honest. I think Double Birthing Ritual is too much value to beat. However, I'll play it out for another, 2 turns or so. I can get anything back, man. Balemurk's a good card. Newsflash, right? Balemurk's good. I think we double block here. If they drew... Oh, they don't even need to draw a white card. Look at that 5 mana. So clean. I was about to say we need to take a risk, and we can risk them not having a white card and try to double block Balemurk, but that will never work, because they can just pay 5 mana. Yeah, they're just going to pay 5 mana, I'll probably kill my Grief, maybe kill my Deathrite. And now they get 2 more triggers. They can turn Solitude into any card in their deck, because it has mana value 5. Or they can kill the Bowmasters and start potting up the chain. Yeah, another Solitude. Oh, we're so cooked. I'm going to give myself one more turn to draw a Sorin. And if I don't draw Sorin next turn, I'll go ahead and scoop. Even if I draw Sorin, I think we still lose. Wow. And they flicker the Solitude, get another kill. Tough stuff. Alright, no Sorin, unfortunately, so we'll go ahead and scoop it up. So, against this version of the deck, we're going to want the Ghost Vacuum. We'll probably want Peddler over Grief. Grief is a little tough when you're against creature-based decks, right? Swords to Plowshares here, so it's Grief's out, Creature Hate in, Graveyard Hate in, Exile Discard is in. Anything else that we want to bring in or out? Wrath of the Skies is a card that we could consider. It is a way to hit the Birthing Ritual. Skyclave is actually a card that we should probably play. I think we should play Skyclave. Is that better than Juggernaut Peddler? Probably. Discard isn't great. I would just rather have the Exile discard over the discard that goes to the graveyard. And we could even consider getting rid of this last Juggernaut Peddler to play Wrath of the Skies. That could be very interesting. I think we're going to say no. We didn't see Guide Pride, right? If they were a very low to the ground version of this deck playing Guide of Souls, Ocelot Pride, I would consider the Wrath of the Skies, but it doesn't look like they're playing those cards. Alright, sweet. We're going to be on the play here. Our opening hand has Double Dark Ritual, but it's like the worst Double Dark Ritual hand I've ever seen. It's like you could Dark Ritual into an MDFC, woohoo. I think we're going to mulligan this. I think we need something a little better. Dark Ritual into one of these cards, maybe? I mean, it's certainly something. I think this is a little bit better. I'm going to go ahead and keep 6 here. We're going to send back one of the rituals, perhaps? Or we can even send back a Doll Maker with nothing to flicker. But I like keeping Doll Maker because it lets us have a lot of good draws. We can even put back the Peddler because this is a card we sideboarded out a bit. We only have 1 copy. It is my interaction, though. Thing is, just Double Dark Ritual enables like every card in our deck to be a good draw. Like, we just draw Balemurk off the top. Not sure about the decision, though. And then we'll just go ahead and grab a Surveil land here. We can try to Surveil a big creature into our deck or into our graveyard. Just reanimate it. We're really looking for the land drop here. If they put something in their graveyard, we're absolutely going to reanimate it. They are a Balemurk deck, so it's pretty likely that they fill their graveyard for us. But I'm not in love with this opening hand yet. Alright, we're going to keep second land because I don't think we have much of a choice here. And I think we'll just pass. We're hoping to draw some gas here. Best possible draw is probably an Alenda. Though drawing a Balemurk would also be very, very good. Ghost Vacuum? Yeah, that's a great card for them to draw. So we can't even reanimate anything. That's pretty unfortunate. I think we're just going to pass and Surveil again. Yeah, Renegade Rallier is going to go ahead and get a fetch land back. My opponent is unfortunately not behaving for me and putting something to reanimate in their graveyard. Though they have Ghost Vacuum up anyway, right? So need to draw Skyclave to deal with this, perhaps. Boggart Trawler. No, that's just such a mediocre card. We're going to send it back. I want something better. Yeah. Ophelia is at least something that we can flash out. Of course, I could just play Dollmaker as a 2/2, but that's a complete waste of the card if you ask me. Right. Yeah, we're gonna get griefed here. Yeah, my opponent's gonna see my hand and see that we're kind of holding nothing. They probably take Sorin on the off chance I draw a Lenda. Or maybe they take Dollmaker on the off chance I draw Balemurk. If I were them, I would be taking Sorin, because Balemurk I can just play with the Dark Rituals. We're actually getting somewhat close to being able to play a Lenda with Dark Rituals, which is funny. We just need another white source. Yeah, there's another Sorin. Alright. Alright, so now what? Nothing good's happening. Philia doesn't, like, do anything if she attacks, right? None of my cards do anything. Playing Sorin doesn't do anything. Flickering any of their stuff doesn't do anything. In fact, flickering their stuff is actively bad for me. I guess we are just passing. Playing the Dollmaker also just does not do anything. I think that is a waste of a card. I think we're just passing, and we're hoping to draw like a Balemurk or an Alenda to get ourselves back into this game. Or maybe draw a removal for the Ghost Vacuum. Alright, anything good? No. We drew a Sorin. I might just play the Sorin, considering I have 2 copies, and I really don't have anything else to do with my turn. I'm just gonna give Philia some Death Touch here. Lifelink and Death Touch, right? And then we could flicker the Sorin to get a permanent counter onto the Philia. Of course, they might just use a removal spell here, but it's not gonna kill me if they do so. No, we're really desperate here. We need to draw one of Balemurk or Alenda very soon. Maybe Skyclave Apparition is also an acceptable draw. But there's not too much else. Solitude too, actually, because I can hardcast it with a Dark Ritual. Would be pretty sweet. Pretty snazzy. So that's a lot of our deck. Alright, Sorin's back, Philia at a counter. Our opponent tanked a little bit. Maybe they had a blocker, maybe they didn't. Maybe someone's texting them at work. Alright, but yeah, our opponent's definitely in the driver's seat. We had an awkward opening hand, and we unfortunately didn't stumble our way out of it by drawing a payoff. But there's still lots of draws that have us live. We're very live on an Alenda or a Balemurk draw. Very, very live. Alright, Rallier with Revolt gets back a fetch land. Honestly, I don't think their draw is too great either. I think they really just have like a pile of Ralliers and fetch lands in their hand and nothing else to do with it. At least they have the vacuum to keep me locked down. And they go for Sorin, sure. And Philia's going too? Alright, well, guess I got some life back. Alright, what we draw here? We unfortunately drew nothing that will help. No targets for Reanimate still. Nothing for Dollmaker to do. Playing a Sorin here is just asking for him to die. We don't have Surveillance left in the deck either, but we'll just go ahead and fetch like a Godless Shrine. So that Alenda just hardcast off Dark Ritual becomes a live draw. Also for deck thinning, there's nothing in this deck that needs Revolts. There's no fetchable lands akin to Mystic Sanctuary in this deck, so we can just like fetch for thinning and not feel bad about it. But we do need something this turn because we're quite literally dying. Help me, I'm dying. Alright. Ah, a Witch Enchanter. That is not what we're looking for. Is it a card we were going to play anyway? I think we die if we play it, right? Wait, do I die? Can I block enough? No, I just die if I play that. If I cast a few Dark Rituals and a Dollmaker, will I live? Sure. Is that a life to live? I guess it is. I guess it's a life that we're stuck living, right? So, Witch Enchanter. It's Ghost Vacuum. Don't have enough life to reanimate anything at this point. And then we're just gonna like Dollmaker, flicker the Witch Enchanter for no value, and block and go to 1 HP, and hopefully draw a Lenda off the top of our deck. Great. That Solitude will mean that they can attack for lethal on their next turn, so we can go ahead and scoop it up. It was a fun and interesting game. An interesting game to try and navigate, but we did end up losing. That is basic Magic theory going there, right? Because there are a Birthing Ritual version of the deck. They're playing slower cards, the green cards, which does give them a lot more mid-range power, whereas we are playing like the degenerate Dark Ritual cards, right? So when games go long, like both of our games here did, their deck is going to pull ahead. So they are favored in this matchup. Wonder if that's something that we can consider with sideboarding, because this is still a pretty new deck, right? And when we looked at the sideboard options, I was like, oh yeah, we bring in the Skyclave Apparition and the creature removal and one Ghost Vacuum, but we didn't have anything really pointed. We also only had the one Ghost Vacuum. We don't have a way to get rid of most of their critical pieces other than the 2 copies of Skyclave Apparition, so I wonder if that's something that we can adjust. But it was still a cool deck. If you do like this version of the deck that you saw my opponent play with the Renegade Rallier, feel free to play that one, because I think they're pretty equally strong. It's just that my version that we're playing here is going to be a little faster, a little more degenerate. Their version is going to be more mid-rangey and therefore have some better fair matchups. And there's a great Reddit post by Dem the other day, if you do want to learn this deck. That Reddit post has like a sideboard guide and write-up and everything. All right, game 2. We are going to be on the draw here. We have a Grief Scam hand, so that seems good enough to keep. Another upside of these MDFCs that I didn't mention is the ability to pitch to Grief and Solitude. So let's go ahead and just pitch Grief without playing our land first, because there's a tiny chance that we aren't actually able to reanimate it, or less that we aren't able and more that there's no targets for Grief to hit this turn. Essentially, if my opponent choosing to hide their secrets and just brainstorm here. But I think the most likely outcome is that we go ahead and reanimate the Grief this turn, take 2 cards, and then Dollmaker to take a 3rd next turn. We'll have to see what's in their hand. We drew both our backstreets, which is really awkward. So hopefully we don't have the kind of draws where we want to curve out. Oh wow, they have a lot of stuff. This is a matchup where I wish I still had Bowmasters, right? I think we probably take the Brainstorm and the Cruise here. Bowmasters is not a card that is going to hurt me. Shieldback is a good card, but it is only a good card if they have access to their free counterspell. And I don't think it's worth taking. So I think we're going to take Brainstorm, Treasure Cruise, and then next turn we're going to Dollmaker, look at their hand again. Let's go ahead and grab a basic here. I guess we could take the Bowmaster first, take the Treasure Cruise on a later turn. No, actually, Treasure Cruise is more valuable. There's a small chance we get countered. This Dollmaker gets countered, right? If they have Flare. Hiding is their last card. Very likely, actually, that they have Flare hiding as that last card. I know Blue Mages very well. They think they're smart always. I could have taken the shield back. Really gotten him there. There's a good chance this gets flared. Yep, that's exactly what's going to happen. So last turn we could have taken the shield back to prevent that. Because I did kind of have that read. Alright, and now we are kind of top decking, but we do have this Techie Newman to help reload. We have Shadowy Backstreet to help us surveil towards a threat. So as long as we draw another threat eventually, we should be able to get there. There's Tameo and a Bowmasters. Not looking amazing for us, if we're going to be honest. Because they can Bowmasters and very much kill my Grief. Another Grief? Do I care? Do I want another Grief? Am I going to spend 4 mana on a Grief next turn? Or would I rather draw to something a bit more impressive? I think I'd rather try to hit something a bit more impressive, right? I'm just thinking here. I actually am not sure. Their hand's going to be pretty empty by then, but Grief is still going to be good, especially for the turn that they eventually put Lurrus into their hand, right? So I think we're going to keep it on top. I'm going to go here, I'm going to go attack. Opponent might or might not play the Bowmasters right now. It will not. And we'll pass turn. Opponent is, of course, playing around my Bowmasters that I don't have. It is just something you can assume that your opponent has Bowmasters when they have priority here at instant speed. Don't tell them it's a Dark Ritual giving me the priority. Because none of us have fetch lands in play either, so it's not the fetches that are giving priority, so they're probably assuming I have a Bowmaster. Alright, and then once again, I'm gonna, like, pretty fearlessly just turn my guy sideways. They might double block here, they might not. They will. Okay. We'll let it happen. The question is, do we want to use this Takenuma to reload? I think we do. It means I don't do anything this turn or next turn, which is unfortunate. Oh, Balemurk. That's a very strong one. Okay. We will happily play Balemurk next turn, which means we should probably Grief check this turn. Or what we could do next turn is we can evoke the Grief and then play Balemurk. We could Dark Ritual at the Grief and then play a cheap version of Balemurk. I think what we're going to want to do is evoke the Grief next turn and put the 5-mana Balemurk. Alright, my turn. Let's go ahead and evoke Grief here. We'll see what happens. If they mana drain this, they're not going to have mana up for another proper counter spell for Overlord. Now, the nightmare scenario is them having multiple mana drains, of course. Alright, mana drain used. There are 1-mana counter spells in the format. I do not believe they hit Balemurk. And we can go ahead and grab our Dollmaker back. Ooh, Alenda is a cool one too, but I'd rather have the Dollmaker. And what's cool about Balemurk is that most removal spells in the format also just don't line up against it. Our opponent's going to Brainstorm immediately before using their colorless mana to crack clues or anything. Let's see what happens from here, right?
This will be a boon to my research.
Alright, my opponent has Brainstormed, flipped the Tameo, and it looks like they're spinning their wheels a little bit here, looking for an answer. Tracking clues, looking for something. I don't know if they found it. So let's go ahead and start out just by attacking the Tameo. We will be attacking her for 4, and if there is no Bowmasters or other objections, she will be dying here. And we can also grab a Grief again to take a look at their hand, or we can grab Saint Alenda. Opponent is going to simplify the decision-making process by deciding to concede to us. That's pretty neat. So my beloved Bowmasters are not here. We have Juggernaut Peddler. We probably want Ghost Vacuum to keep their graveyard in check. The other card you can argue for is Skyclave Apparition to help deal with their annoying little permanents like Tameo. Though Tameo is less of a lights out situation for this deck compared to others just because our attackers are so big on average, right? It's not like you're playing energy trying to attack with a bunch of 1/2s. I think this configuration is quite good. I don't think we need the Solitudes unless they show me something that I'm unaware of. I think they're the super controlling version, and I'm not playing Psychic Frog or anything, so I don't think we need the Solitudes or the Swords. Alright, on the draw. We got Grief Scam again. I think we're going to keep it. I mean, Grief Scam is one of the best openers you can have against control. Wow, and then we have Balemurk Dollmaker to follow it up with. Jeez, it just gets better every day. Are we going to want to scam away this Deathrite? I think the answer is yes. It's very rare that I decide Deathrite is the least valuable thing in my hand, but it's what we're doing today. The mana acceleration does help, but one of the cool things about Balemurk is that it helps you find the other half of your Sorin Alenda combo. So if my next Balemurk hits Alenda, I'm happy to have the Sorin in my hand still. So if it's the decision of Sorin versus Deathrite, oh, they are playing frogs. I'm gonna keep the Sorin. Right, we'll take the Psychic Frog and might as well reanimate, take the other stupid swords, right? We could also reanimate their frog, which would be funny, but this is card advantage here. So now if they want to deal with grief, they would have to use both swords. One will be discard, one will be used. Whereas if we reanimated their frog, they'd use one sword and hold the other. Alright, my opponent decided that they don't want to play Magic the Gathering with me. That is a rather fair assessment. I had lots of fun, thank you. Alright, game 3. We're on the play against Novos. We're going to be playing against the same deck, or a very similar deck. I know this because Novos doesn't shut up about Chorus Control lately. So, up against Chorus Control, is this a good opening hand? I see a Elenda without a Sorin. I do see a Grief as a good way to Grief check them. So I'm thinking what I could do is I can just play Balemurk on turn 2. Just go fishing. Maybe we hit a Sorin, maybe we don't. Maybe we hit something to pitch to Grief, maybe we don't. Like, this opening hand is okay. I definitely am considering mulliganing to 6 to try and find a more powerful one. But I think we're going to go ahead and keep this. Alright, cool. Yep, let's go ahead and just surveil on Novus's turn. Alright, and that's going to be a shield back early. So, Flare of Denial could be up all game. Of course, we have no way of knowing. Balemurk is definitely a card that gets flared, so I guess we find out that way. Wow, a Dollmaker on top too? So the tragic part here is that there's no way to, like, Grief check them first, right? Because I'd have to pitch my Balemurk. So I think I'm just going to go ahead and fetchy here and try to stick the Balemurk. We'll see whether or not Novos thinks it's worth it to flare just this half of the Balemurk. Looks like that answer is yes. I'm another control player, so I don't know how to evaluate it. I would think I would want to wait for the flicker effect, but Novos is a good control player, so I'm sure he's got it right. All right, here, I think I might just stick my Deathrite Shaman. Of course, I have this Grief that I'm not using, but we can just surveil again, try to play Grief next turn. All right, looks like Deathrite Shaman is at least going to live for a little bit. All right, Prismatic Ending. It was just a little bit that he got to live for. Peddler is quite good. I am actually very interested in a Peddler this time of year. Which is unfortunate because I still can't, like, properly Grief check my opponent. So, choices here. We can Peddle and then Doll make it. But if my Peddler gets canceled, it's just or countered, it's just a waste of mana. Or I could be mana efficient, I play the Grief, and then next turn we try to stick both of these. Let's play 4 mana Grief. It's really unfortunate we don't have pitch targets for Grief to ensure things resolve here. Yep, and that's a clean mana drain. That's what I was worried about and why I didn't lead with Peddler. But now Novus is 4 mana. It's at minimum Lurrus to hand. It's some fast gameplay, probably because I'm lagging. Alright, and that's a Forg hidden in the battlefield. Oh, okay, so we hit the Balemurk. So do we want to take a look at the hand? Or do we want to just do the Balemurk thing? I think we do the Balemurk thing, because what's cool about Balemurk is we can buy back our Grief. Yeah, I think Grief is still the best here. We can buy back land drop number 5 as well. I'm going to take Grief and something. Flicker, flicker. Okay. We could take back Boggart Trawler and just use it to pitch cast to the Grief. That's certainly an option. Oh, we could grab Deathrite Shaman as well. I'm very interested in griefing this turn. I am also interested in just getting rid of the frog. Do I have another Elenda in my graveyard? I do. Okay, so if I hit Sorin, we could buy back that other Elenda. I think I want to play Solitude, and I think the timing is right now. I don't know if I want to also grief. I mean, I guess I do, right? No, but then I'm at exactly 0 resources. If I'm griefing, what am I hoping to take? Like, if they have Swords to Plowshares, they'll just use it in response. I think I'm just going to hold this grief because I don't want to, like, grief them, get hit by the Swords to Plowshares, which I just did, and then I'm, like, stuck spinning my wheels with literally 0 resources on board. That's a cruise coming through. That's bad. That's a card I would have loved to grief, so maybe I made the wrong decision. Yeah, they could put Cruise or Swords right back on top. No choice. It's going to be a Swords, makes sense. And a frog. And a turtle. Right. Ooh, okay, reanimate for Saint Helena? That's actually kind of huge. So let's start by pedaling. See what's going on over there. Okay, it's just a Lurrus and a Brainstorm. I think we could take the Lurrus. And then I'm going to reanimate the Saint Helena. This grief did nothing. We could also reanimate a Balemurk. That's also quite good. We could also reanimate a Solitude. It's also quite good. I think Saint Helena and then Faith's Fetters, the Psychic Frog, is probably the best thing we could do right now. Oh, right. Alright, your turn. So Elena is going to get hit by the swords. That's a known quantity. And of course they have the Brainstorm in hand, so definitely potential to hit even more answers. Yep, that's fine. But I would still say we are ahead on board. But is it ahead enough so that we stay ahead versus Control Gaming? That's something to be found out. Also, Treasure Cruise on top. Juggernaut being played. Grief will have no impact on this board. Did I screw up my grief timing? Absolutely. This is just a freaking card in my hand, man. Block it, Novos. Oh, he fell for it. What a goof. Did he forget or did he know, chat? What do you think? I think he forgot. Of course, draw 3 here for only 2 mana. Very fair and balanced. Oh, it was 3 mana, but still. It's enough to hold up a mana drain, which means I can't, like, really even grief them effectively. That's a shield back. Alright. Dude, I got a cosmetic grief in my hand. Why am I doing this to myself? So what's cool about shield back is that Novas can't chump with it. And I think I'm gonna be greedy. I'm gonna play Philia. I'm gonna play Philia on end step. And try to, like, flicker my Doll Maker or my Juggernaut Peddler or something. Good old end step Brainstorm here, but they got the fetch available, of course. Is 3 Mystic Sanctuaries in your deck? You have 3? No. Okay. Yeah, I couldn't handle another Treasure Cruise. Also, this is a testament to the deck's midrange power, because my control opponent has now cast multiple Treasure Cruises. 3 of them? No, actually. Mystic Sanctuary puts swords on top. 2 of them, still. There's a lot of cruising, and, like, we're not out of the game at all. I'm gonna play Philia right now. Play around counters, but not around swords. Can't play around everything at once. Okay. Neat. My turn. Grief. You. Holy moly, it's gonna get countered, guys. Flare the Frog. Yep. Alright, I want to play this after combat. Well, actually, Juggernaut Peddler doesn't come back until end step, right? I was about to say let me look at their hand first, but... Green, black. Death, right. Cool. Attack with everything. Juggernaut Peddler is being exiled. Oh my god, he scooped. Okay. I was thinking about whether or not to play around Bowmasters. Yeah, holy moly, that's mid-range power. Like, that was a lot of Treasure Cruise cast. And we're against a good control player, not like a random gamer on Arena, right? So what we want here? What do we want here? We're gonna drive our control opponents crazy by just taking forever to make all our decisions today. I think the Ghost Vacuum is very strong against the deck that's playing the Cruise. I think Juggernaut Peddler is very strong against control in general. Skyclave Apparition might be worth it because they're gonna have their own Ghost Vacuums and other like stupid little sideboard cards. I like this. It's 61 cards though, so one of these boys has to go. All right, what goes here? Could just be a reanimate if that's not the most reliable strategy here. Nah, I want reanimate. I want to reanimate his frog. This should ruin some control player's day. Maybe I'll just take out Ophelia for the time being. Run it back. Actually, we're on second. Going second gamer over here. We can take out a land if we're going second kind of gamer. All right, hey, it's Grief Scam. All right, we'll keep it. Grief Scam into Flicker the Grief next turn. That's pretty mean. All right, Novos ping me on Discord. It's over Mold of 5. All right. You know how it is, guys. Sometimes you win, sometimes you spin. Yeah, Mold of 5 versus Grief Scam, it's like kind of giga over. I mean, the discipline thing is to grief first before I fetch, but... yeah. I take the flare if one is present. It is not. Yeah. He wants the card. Do I Dollmaker and just take a look at that hand already? I could. I totally could. I want to get my pressure on the board, so I guess... yes, I guess I take my opportunity to play as many creatures as possible as quickly as possible while my opponent's stumbling. This could be a land. It's a Treasure Cruise. Feels good to be a gangster. Alright, double shield back. We're here. It's real. Let's go ahead and attack with the Grief. And then we could do the classic. Oh no, I wanted to use my indestructible trick. Alright, I don't want to give Novos a card. Like, I don't want these shield backs to die. I'm just gonna pass. Okay. Oh, this is the exciting part of the game. We just get to look at each other. Fourth land drop, does that help? What costs 4 in my deck that I'm looking forward to draw? Nothing. Like, literally nothing. I mean, hard cast Grief. But who cares? Okay. Go to combat. Hit you for 3. Are you double blocking? Alright, cool. You do get a card here. I activate my ability. Alright, you get a card. And I pass. All right, ooh, another Grief. Okay, so we can do Dark Ritual into Grief here. So let's go ahead and attack. It's a pretty free block. I'm going to go ahead and cast my Dark Ritual. Looks like there's definitely counter magic here. But we might as well make him use it because that means our spell next turn is definitely going to resolve and we have a lot of bangers that we could draw. This does give them mana to put Lurrus into hand and then even Lurrus to battlefield, which is exactly what's going to happen. But we got the Skyclave Apparition, so I think we got this game on lockdown. Oh, Flare, no! No Flare! Cheater! No Flare. Alright, that's actually pretty bad. I think he might actually win the Mold of 5 versus Scam. That's wild. Of course, I could still like draw very well. If I draw Sorin, the game does end. But I do have to draw well. That's a treasure cruise. That's exactly what the control player wants right here. I'm assuming. No one randomly floats 1 blue mana just to mess with me. That's a shield back. That's a Lurrus attacking. Yeah, flare on top? That's pretty bad for me. Yeah. So, flare is up. I think we lost. We lost against the Mold of 5 when we had Grief Scam on 1. That's wild. Oh, DT.
I stayed up too
I mean, DT is just counterspell bait, but like, we got to get the counterspell out of their hand at some point. Oh, okay, yeah. Don't counter the tutor, counter the tutor target. Classic. So I'm going to put the Sorin into my hand, and Novus is going to be patient and counter the Sorin instead of countering the DT. You know they have Flare. Another shield back. Alright, another shield back has hit the tower. Now what do we do, right? What do we do? Someone please clarify. Yeah, I don't know. Exist? I can like exile their Tameo, I can tokenize it. If they only have 1 counterspell, I think the discipline thing is to let this go. Yeah, because they don't know what my other spell might be. Because this is obviously not what I DT'd for. Okay, and they have a token Tameo that will not flip, and I have the ability here. Okay, so now this game is in a pretty stupid state. Also, if they just draw 3 cards, this will auto-flip. No consent asked. This card just flips, and it doesn't have a backside because it's a token. But getting a clue every turn is a pretty solid dealio, if I'm going to be honest with you. Take Numa. I think we're just going to channel this one. Channel this one, buy back a Grief. And then try to stick Sorin Alenda, and then we just gotta hope that's enough. Probably not enough, but we gotta play to our outs here. Alright, Takenuma. We're gonna try to get a Grief, and then hopefully we just draw a black card. We did not draw a black card. We drew a card. Okay. I mean, I think I could just chill until I draw a black card. Like, I'm sure we lose, because they have so many cards in hand. But it's possible they only have the 1 counterspell we know about. Or that they punt somehow. I don't know how, you don't ask me. We do have a Surveil here, so... Surveil for a black card is what we're looking for. A banger card like Reanimate is also acceptable. Okay. Nice. Like, I'm sure we've lost this game, but I'll play it out. They do need to, like, put a Psychic Frog onto the battlefield and have it attack me in order to win. Because I did prevent this Tameo from flipping. Of course, that's probably going to happen. Ooh. I get to block Polaris. What is the trick? Make me spend my mana, then Swords of my Grief? Okay. Yippee! Okay, a Balemurk. Do I just want to play the Balemurk? I think I do, and if this eats a counter spell, then we can go ahead and slam the Sorin. Okay, card is being drawn. Another Cosmetic Grief. I'm using the Overlord as counterspell bait instead of like just using Grief to look. And then I think we just want to try to stick the Sorin this turn, and if Sorin doesn't stick, we concede. Pretty much impossible that they don't have a counterspell on this whole grip, right? Yeah, I think we'll scoop it up here. Another Cosmetic Grief strikes again. Maybe there's something wrong with me. We'll put the land back in when we're going to be on the play here, and maybe another black card will make our grief slightly less cosmetic. All right, we're on the play here. We do have a Peddler to open it up with. We also have Ghost Vacuum for turn 1, so it's always good to see your one of sideboard cards show up. So for once in our lives, we will not be subject to Treasure Cruise. Right, and then to draw Dollmaker for Balemurk, which is fantastic, but I think we want to pedal. We want to take a look at what's going on over there. If they have something like a Frog, I do want to get rid of it right away, or a Brainstorm to flip the Tameo. They have, holy moly. They got a pile of stuff, man. Why do they always have stuff? I guess we just take the swords. Holy moly, pile of action. Extend my suffering already. I don't want to take flares, right? Because they don't have blue creatures. I could take Lorien to deny mana, but I hate doing that. So the only other options are just removal spells, right? And swords is definitely the better one. Ending can hit the Ghost Vacuum, but honestly, if they spend their turn doing that, I'm going to be okay with it. Oh, they're going to do it. Huh, sure. Okay, I'm really fine with that. We will have the Merc hit the battlefield here. This is going to get flared. -1 Tameo, I'm okay with this. Like, they lost a big card. I think we're going to play the Boggart Trawler rather than holding it for a Grief pitch. I don't think pitching Grief gets us ahead here. I think casting Grief and flickering it is going to be what really helps us out here. My opponent does have full price Flare here. It seems quite likely that they use it to target the Balemurk, so I'm actually just going to waste their mana. Of course they can crack the glue here and Lorien revealed and develop their board a little bit more. But I don't think that just casting this into Flare is profitable. Mystic Sanctuary can buy back a Pending or a Flare of Denial. If we just draw a black card, then we can have a non-cosmetic Grief for once in our lives. And then there's a Forg. You got it. Oh, there's a Sorin. Okay. So, pretty straightforward, right? Grief you. Take whatever counterspell you have. There's a Drain. Okay. So they still do have the ability to flare my Sorin here. And I think they will do it, right? But I think it's good to make them do it, because it's trading 1 card for 2 here. This Frog is crazy. It will take over the board if he doesn't flare right now. Alright, well, unfortunately we had to throw away our Balemurk, which is like our best card. But we did whittle down the control player to nothing. He says as they have a Lurrus in their hand. Classic. Oh, hey. Another sword. They only have 1 unknown. I think we're going to throw it at them, right? Of course, we could be super safe and like Dollmaker Flicker to take a look at their hand. Actually, no, we should do that because they can just play Lurrus next turn. So even if they don't have a counterspell, this is still very high value. Swords. Okay. That's fine. And they would have to one out or draw a counter spell, but really they want to play Lurrus. If they drew Flare of Denial, good for you. If not,
I've
ooh.
read nearly the entire library.
Reanimate the Balemurk instead. Reanimate Balemurk. I would then have to hit an MDFC. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play Sorin. They did not hit their card. A free counter spell.
I guess you'll do.
So I don't have a way to blow up Lurrus here, right? Lurrus is going to stay in play. Even if I Faith Fetters him, it doesn't really matter. So I think I just want like the creature. Just want to be able to attack and block here. Your turn. We do have a lot of guys for attacking and blocking. My opponent has the ability to play a Psychic Frog, which has the potential to get big. And they did draw the Sword Splashers for Alenda. But I think we're still doing good. I really think we're doing good. They can exile my token, but that I could still block Lurrus. I'm going to be able to attack with Lifelink. I will be able to reanimate a Balemurk here. They do have one unknown here. I don't know if this can be a counter spell. Nope, it's just a land. Okay, sweet. So we get to reanimate a Balemurk. Yeah, I think we're doing great. Yeah, pending my token. That's what I predicted. It was a good play. Yeah, we're just going to reanimate this Overlord immediately because he could hit something really strong. We could turn their Juggernaut into another Juggernaut, which is always fun. I could also just like grief their Juggernaut away because LOL. Alright, we'll permanently grow this vampire over here. I had an attack for 4, Death Touch, Lifelink. They blocked with Lurrus. I wasn't expecting that. Why? But what did I miss? Why couldn't they take 4 there? I was really expecting them to take 4. I think this Juggernaut is irrelevant. I think I'd rather have a Deathrite in play, right? Or I could grief them and take the Juggernaut. Deathrite doesn't do much with a Psychic Frog down, but they would just discard the Juggernaut to Psychic Frog. I think this is a pretty marginal decision, but Deathrite has the potential to do something. I have Instants and Sorceries in my graveyard, so I could use those for burn. What they should do here is exile 3 cards, discard the Juggernaut, kill my Sorin. See, I can read blue players' minds at this point. Did you draw a card here, draw a card here, so they have a lot of chances to find answers? Another Forg. You got it. Flip a Tameo, that's very good for them. Good news is we get to grief him. Oh, and another Tammy, sheesh. Oh wow, and another Balemurk, holy moly. On a scale of 1 to holy moly, holy moly. Balemurk is going to go ahead and attack Tameo. This is a crazy game, by the way. I do not know who's going to win it. This is very fun. I can take the Cleric back. That's so funny. What a garbage card. What a bad card. Peddler? Peddler, right? Peddler's got to be the card. Peddler's my man here. And they will block. Makes sense. So we can play Balemurk and then grief them. I'm down for that. We can also play Balemurk and play Peddler and then hold the cosmetic grief in our hand. Because I love cosmetics. I spend all my money on cosmetics. Are we going to take an Inspiring Cleric back? Kill me, right? Yes? Or we could just take a black card. We could take a Sorin to pitch to grief. I'll take the Sorin. Sorin mostly for later, and then we could turn this last card into a Juggernaut here. Was that their graveyard or mine that I was just looking at? Mine has Verdant Catacombs in it. Right. Peddler goes. I might play Sorin just to give lifelink to Balemurk coming up, by the way. Alright. Do I want to upgrade my grief into a Juggernaut? No, but it would be funny. That would be a good way to troll Novos, though, actually. Maybe I should have done it. Alright, 7 cards in graveyard, so they can fly the Psychic Frog a limited number of times. I also have 28 life, so it's not killing me anytime soon. But they're getting a fair amount of card advantage in the meantime. If they can keep me off of damaging this Tameo, that is their win condition. Very, like, crazy good game right now, by the way. I really do not know who's going to win this. I feel like I'm doing good, but who knows. Buyback Swords, hit Balemurk, nice.
One of my favorites.
Big. Alright, Tameo's exposed now. And, like, I get to grief them. They know about this. So what's the plan here? They didn't just give up Tameo, right? The thing is, I'm not a control player at all. Like, I have 0 reps on this deck, so who am I to tell them what to play? Also, no Chorus. I thought Novus was still playing Chorus control. I haven't seen a single Chorus card. I guess this is just the better version. Just play Frogs again. That's what they've concluded. I don't know. Blue Mages, like, change the subject of their cope, like, 5 times a day. I can't keep up anymore. I thought Chorus control was the new technology that everybody was sticking with, but I guess we're back on Psychic Frog control. And Treasure Cruises. Alright, 1 mana left up for a potential Swords to Plowshares draw. Demonic Tutor for Alenda for, like, later. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and kill the Tameo. And then ponder the insignificance of life. I don't have a good reanimate target. That's what I'm looking for right now. I could I should grief them. Yeah. Grief Pitch Sorin. DT for a reanimate. That actually seems best. It took a second for the line to come to me. Alright, what's happening here? Brainstorm? Okay. I mean, as long as there's 2 cards to take, I think I am going to, like, reanimate this grief. Alright, there are not 2 cards to take. Alright, I feel a little scammed here because I really wanted to reanimate that. Alright, now what? I actually don't know. That's why I'm lamenting. I could DT for like a Deathrite Shaman. I don't have swords. I would DT for swords in this situation if I had Swords to Plowshares. I don't... Wow, I took out my swords and my Solitude, right, because I assumed he was on Chorus control. Yikes. Dude, the Blue Mages are just a step ahead of me. So what do I DT for? Like, I have the best card in the game just sitting in my hand. What am I going to DT for? I could DT for the reanimate. Like, I could do it. And just reanimate my grief next turn. Like, no matter what. I could DT for a Deathrite Shaman to put more pressure on. I think I'm going to DT for the reanimate still. Because pretty much no matter what next turn, I'm interested in reanimating a grief. Just not going to use it yet. Just going to activate my Deathrite Shaman here, and hopefully we can kill them by, like, paper cuts. Because they have to kill me. I'm at 29. These Psychic Frogs aren't going to do it. Not fast enough, at least. Alright, that is a Swords to Plowshares on top. And they will be drawing it off of their frogs. I don't have the ability to really block this. Like, I could block it, but then they just discard all their cards and kill my creatures for free, so let's not do that. They're going to discard their cards anyway. Are they really going to have nothing in hand for me to reanimate Grief? Because this is probably a land, I'm guessing. Maybe it's a counterspell. So they could fight me here with the Psychic Forg. I think I'm down for that. This is a very powerful card that I don't want the Mystic Sanctuarying back. And this helps control the size of their graveyard. Okay. There's a Sorin. So I guess we reanimate the Grief here. Hit the Grief here. Reanimate the Grief here. Many such ideas. Give me a reanimated Grief. And if this trades for a counterspell, that's honestly fine. Yeah. Okay, that trades for a counterspell, and then they have swords up. Jeez, what a game. Alright, a Tameo has hit the battlefield. They could flip Tameo this turn. Yeah, that's what they're going to try to do. I think it's prudent if I block one of these frogs. Actually, I could double block this frog. They'll have to use the swords. Means they kill everything I control not named Deathrite Shaman, but what am I gonna do? I was planning on jumping something regardless, and they have to use this sword somewhere. Okay, they just decide to trade 1-for-1. I'm totally down with for that. It's the good outcome in my opinion. Alright, let's hit my graveyard so we get the guaranteed drain here. There's 5 more turns, am I right? Ooh, a Dollmaker. There's 4 more turns, am I right? I think I just tried to jam this. I could also try to play Sorin, but let's jam this. Could or could not have counterspell here. Okay, sweet. Looks like they probably don't. Balemurk me. I could also do the trick where I hit Tameo. It's hard to say no to a Balemurk. There is Saint Elenda herself. We will take it. And then next turn we will be playing Sorin Elenda. Okay, this is sweet. I will not be attacking. I will be activating this end of turn. Yep, +5 life. I will take it. Thank you, Novos. You gotta kill me before I kill you, Buckaroo. And it's getting less and less likely every turn. This game is great. Alright, Psychic Frog is staying back so that they don't die to me just turning my boys sideways. Makes sense. Brainstorm. Alright, Control Mages, why don't you crack the clue first there? Don't you want to get a card deeper? Not saying you did it wrong. There's probably a reason. I just don't know the reason because I'm not a Control Mage.
But I'm not so easily respect the library.
She's not so easily respect the library. Whatever that means. Okay, 1 card in hand, maybe 2. Could be a counterspell, could not be. Let's find out, alright? Sorin. Lair. Okay. So we could turn the boys sideways and attack here. Oh, it's almost worth it. I wish I had 1 more mana. I really did. I really do. Oh my god, you're going to 4, buddy. Oh, they're almost dead to this Deathrite Shaman. It's like so tantalizing. This is such a wild game. I maybe should have attacked there, because like I could have forced through 2 damage. And then they're dead to 1 Deathrite Shaman crack. But then like if they swords me or something, it's not good. Okay, they're brainstorming. If they had the situation under control, I would think they would want to grab swords. But brainstorm to me seems like desperation. Seems like they have to dig really hard. Okay, turtle? Turtle. Holy moly, what's happening? Alright, couple avenues this turn. Okay, that answered my question. I'm just gonna play this. My question was, do I like play the Skyclave Apparition, tapping this for white? And I got something else to do, so the answer there is gonna be no. Yep, that will trade for a counterspell very happily. And then I can't attack through for lethal just yet, but we can put Novus to 2, make it 1 off the Scalding Tarn. And they might have to do a desperation attack here. Yeah, it looks like they didn't draw swords or anything for my Deathrite Shaman or a way to gain life. So they have to attack here and hope to draw something good, but now I have good attacks with my own creatures. Wow, GG, holy moly, what a game. There were a lot of decision points that game, and I don't know if I played any of them right, to be honest, especially the first 2 games where we just had like a cosmetic grief. Maybe that cosmetic grief successfully like made Novos play a little bit differently and enabled me to win, right? Because he knew he was gonna be griefed or he could be griefed at any moment. But I probably played that wrong, to be honest. I'll watch the footage back and maybe we'll see. All right, this deck is really good. I think it is towards the top of the meta. It's definitely a tier 1 or a tier 2 deck. A lot of people, not just me, have had a lot of success with it. We did see game 1, we lost to the Birthing Ritual version, and I would agree that this might lose to one ring decks and like really grindy mid-range decks if it can't like get a really quick degenerate win with Sorin and Saint Elenda. So that's possibly a deck building problem to solve with this deck. Also, Chrome Mox is getting added into the format. I don't know if this deck necessarily plays it. It might. Like, you can maybe convince me to replace some of these lands with a Chrome Mox. Like, maybe... Yeah, like you can just get another turn ahead in terms of playing, like, your Balemurk on 1 and flickering it on 2, right? It's just another source of fast mana. Because right now I'm happy to have Ritual and Deathrite Shaman. Do we want to bend over backwards to also play Mox? I don't think so, but it is definitely a possibility. However, Chrome Mox is going to have an effect on the meta. It means a lot more people are going to be playing Belcher. They're going to be playing Show and Tell. Any degenerate combo deck is going to benefit from it. Belcher's going to benefit the most. Show and Tell is just going to benefit a little bit unless somebody figures out a really degen build. So sideboard might change. My concern about this being bad against really grindy mid-range decks might go away because those grindy mid-range decks are going to be pretty atrocious into Belcher Winter, right? Anyways, I think that's all I have for thoughts. There were some really sick games. Oh, I asked Novos if the cosmetic grief had any any impact on his decision making, and he said no, and I almost overdosed on copium. All right, thanks for watching, guys. I hope you all enjoyed the crazy tight games. See you next time.